Alright, CNT125, our routers and routing protocol lab. We just got done configuring the basics and RIP on each of our routers. So we're to the point in the lab that we're about to get our workstations in the network and going, but I have a section here on viewing and troubleshooting the network. What I want to do at this point is stop and look to see if things are functioning hopefully as they should be. So the first thing I'm going to look at is, do I have blinking link lights on all the ports? And I do. If I did not, there's a couple things I would be checking. First is I'm going to check to make sure my cables are on the correct port and the ports are showing blinky link lights. Now, if you haven't done this already, if we go to, I believe it's under Options, Preferences for most of us, I probably want to make sure I have this checkbox indicated or checked. Show device names and actually show port labels. If I show port labels all the time, that allows this to show up on my map. And this allows me to quickly check to make sure things are cabled correctly, because as I should in my network. Because what I can do is I can pull my map up and start verifying, okay, fast Ethernet 01, fast Ethernet 00, looking good. Over here, gigabit 000, gigabit 001. Okay, that's how I can double check that. Now, if for some reason these were not right, let's do this real quick. I'm going to create a problem here. Let's cable this like so. Okay. This could look right because I see, this eventually will be blinky link lights. So as a quick look, this could look right, but in reality it's not. I have my router ports configured to certain IP addresses, but they're not cabled right. So what I would need to do is, again, I'm double checking to make sure things are as they should be before I go any further, because my network would not work in the next step if I try to do anything. As I look at this and I start seeing, okay, fast Ethernet 00, going to my switch, looks good. Fast Ethernet 01 going to, let's check this over here, fast Ethernet 01. Oh no, it's going to the wrong router port. To fix this, I actually need to delete a connection. So I'm going to delete this connection right here between the two routers. And then I need to take this cable and I need to recable it to the correct port. So I need to make sure it gets to 001 because I need to free that port up. And then I can recable 01 to 000. So now if I have something wrong, I might need to delete a connection to be able to reconnect these to the appropriate ports. But that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for all the ports to be cabled correctly, which they are. And the second thing I'm doing here is I'm going to make sure that those ports are on. So I'm going to go into my router, and let's go into our terminal connection. And I'm going to do a show run. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look under these ports, and I'm going to make sure, okay, it's configured, and I don't see the word shutdown. It's configured, and I don't see the word shutdown. That's a good thing. That means it should be on and functioning, which it is. Now, if I were to see, let's do this real quick. Let's go interface, fast Ethernet 00, and I'm going to purposely shut this port down. So if I shut that port down, over here you see that we have red link lights, meaning that port is off. So I checked my cables and I see that's off, and the cables it's cabled right, but I see that off. I'm like, what do I do? Look at your router. Again, let's say I'm connecting in, show run. What I'm looking for is under my ports. Here, 01 is functioning, so I see no indication. Under 00, I see the word shutdown. That means that port is physically turned, in the operating system, it's turned off. So I need to make sure I issue that no shutdown after I configure the IP address. And that could have been something I missed when I was doing the router. So what I would do to fix that, configure terminal or config T, go into that interface, fast Ethernet 0/0, I'm using shortcuts here, fast Ethernet 0/0, and I'm going to do a no shutdown. And I should be able to actually even watch this. When I hit the enter key, watch my link lights over here. Boom, that port turns on. So if I were to look at my router config now, show run, I see under that port, I don't see that word shutdown anymore. That's what I'm looking for. So when I see here about I'm looking for that word shutdown, that's what I'm looking for. If I still have issues, what I'll do next is on my router, I'll do my show run again, and I'm going to look a little closer. I'm going to look to make sure these numbers are correct. Because if I have a wrong number, it could be conflicting or not communicating correctly. So I'm going to double check those against my map. I'm looking at every single number, every single digit to make sure it's correct. If there's an error, remember I'm going to go back to that interface. I might actually do a no IP address to take it off and then plug in the new IP address. I might need to do that, but I'm going to correct any IP addresses next to those interfaces. Alright, so there's a couple basic troubleshooting tips you can do yourself to get your network up and functioning. And again, what I should be seeing is green blinking link lights everywhere at this point. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, and again, if you still have problems at this point, that's the point of our lab sessions, even our lab Zoom sessions. Ask for help, and I'll have you share your screen so we can see what's going on, and I'll run through these troubleshooting tips with you to try to track down where there might be something that's not correct. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect my workstations in and get them functioning. So I'm going to scroll back to my map here because I need the map for my IP addressing. And I'm going to PC1. Let's go to the desktop, IP configuration, and get him configured. He needs to be 192.168.10.10, 192.168.10.10. Make sure there's no typos. I am using a default Class C subnet mask. 192.168.10.1 is the gateway. 10.1 is the gateway because that is the address of this router interface that this workstation is connected to. This workstation is connected to this router right here on this interface. So 10.1 is the gateway. I don't have a DNS server in this network, so I'm going to leave it 0000. I'm going to do a command prompt and do an IP config and check my configuration. I'm looking at all this. Again, I'm looking for typos. And while I'm here, I don't think I have written in the directions yet, but while I'm here, I'm going to ping the gateway, 192.168.10.1. And if everything is done correctly, I should get a successful ping from that IP address, which is the router that I'm connected to. So that workstation is up and running. Let's repeat that for the laptop. IP config, 192.168.10.11. I don't want to conflict the other computer. 192.168.10.1, the gateway, the router that I'm attached to. IP config. I'm double checking all this for typos, and then I'm going to ping my gateway, 192.168.10.1. Looking good. If I were to not get a ping, first thing I'm going to check is to make sure I didn't make a typo in my command, which in this case is a typo. That is not the correct IP address. That doesn't exist anywhere. So in this case, it's my fault that that ping did not work. But if I didn't get a successful ping, I would go back and double check my configuration here. Is it correct? It's really easy to make a typo. All right, let's move over to the other side, the Philadelphia side, if you will. Desktop, IP configuration. This time we're dealing with a 172.16. So 172.16.0.10. It is a Class B subnet mask. We'll leave that alone. 172.16.0.1 is the gateway. So IP config. And I'm going to ping. Again, I'm double checking this to make sure it all looks okay. I'm then going to ping my gateway, 172.16.0.1. And again, I should be getting successfuls. If the first one or two times out, that's fine. I should be getting successfuls after that, though. If I don't, go back and check for typos. That's the first thing you're going to check. 172.16.0.11. I don't want to conflict the other computer. 172.16.0.1. I'm going to do IP config here. And then I'm going to ping my gateway, 172.16.0.1. Looking good. So, there is my network up and functioning. You know, I did all my basic checks and my basic troubleshooting. I have my workstations in and now functioning. So I'm going to do a little bit of additional testing with my workstations before I go any further. So there was my network basic troubleshooting. Here's my workstations, and I showed you a couple tips there on troubleshooting that too. And now I'm going to actually ping the gateway. That's kind of, I combine those two steps. And here's a reminder if it's not working, the things you're checking. Now we're going to check across the WAN. We're going to see that if our network here is functioning, if all of our router config is right, this should function. So I'm going to do a trace route from, this computer here across the network to this computer here. So I need to remember that this one is 172.16.0.10. So I'm going to issue I can do a ping first, 172.16.0.10, and make sure I get a ping, and I do. But I'm actually more interested in this time in a trace route, 172.16.0.10, because I want to see the route that it takes. Well, it's going to this first router, 192.168.0.10.1. It's going to router 10.0.0.2, that's the other router, and then it's going to the workstation. Woo! So my network is up and functioning. Yay! Okay, that's what I should be seeing at this point. All right, next step, we're going to come back and start looking at the RIP routing protocol.